Kristen Redman, and today we're going to go over the planetary aspects that are surrounding us and affecting us for this upcoming week of April 16th through the 22nd. Actually, the 15th through the 22nd, because I'm including today as well, because the new moon that's happening today carries through the rest of the week. And there's a lot going on this week. Let me tell you what, this is going to be a long video because there's so much that is so pivotal for the foundations of what this year is about, what 2018 is about, the year of healing from past traumas, past incidents that happen that make us go in these patterns in our lives where we repeat the same thing over and over again that we don't like, whether it's a behavior, a subconscious thing that happens in us that makes us hit the repeat button over and over again, that puts us in toxic relationships, bad jobs, makes it so we can't stand up for ourselves when we need to. Those things are shifting and changing this year because we're really being forced to deal with it. Those issues are being brought out into the light of day. And at certain points and junctions in this year, it's like the universe forces the root of that to be exposed a little bit more than the average time frame. And this is one of those weeks where that is happening. There is so much because what's happened is we've moved into the new astrological year. At the time of the spring equinox, that is when the new astrological year begins. It's when the sun transits into the sign of Aries. Aries is the first sign of the Zodiac, and it represents new beginnings of all kinds. It means leading the charge, finding that warrior within, and having the confidence and strength to start something new when you know something old has ended. It's outlived its purpose. It doesn't work anymore for whatever the situation is. So you need to lead to new beginnings, but that takes a lot of courage and a lot of determination and a lot of ability to stand up for yourself to say, this is not right. I'm going to find a new way. That's what Aries is. Now, today, we have the Aries new moon happening out there. And that calls us to find those new beginnings. What are those new beginnings? It's asking us to think about those new beginnings because we have Mercury, the planet of the mind, leaving its retrograde phase. Mercury's in Aries as well right now, so the mindset is thinking about these new beginnings. But as Mercury has been retrograde over the past few weeks, it's been asking us to think about what is it that we need to do to make these new beginnings really happen. Because it's calling on a lot more courage and confidence and inner warrior than it ever really has. Not ever. I don't want to say ever, but it's been a darn long time. At least a decade. And in most cases, it's been since 1999 because of all these shifts and changes that happened last year on an astrological front that are pushing us to where our soul is meant to be now. We've outgrown all these phases, and now it's time to really step into our own, step into who we are, and have confidence to do that. That's where Aries comes in. That's where this new moon comes in. That's where that Mercury retrograde that's happened over the past few weeks, that ironically it goes direct at the same time of this new moon today, that asks us the one thing: where do these new beginnings need to happen? That's what new moons do. That's when we plant our seeds into that new moon, our intentions for where we want the change to happen. And this is the most powerful of all the new moons this year, to plant those seeds of manifesting. Not necessarily make them happen. It's not that it's going to, you set your intention tonight and it's going to happen tomorrow. No, I think the clarity towards how to make it happen continues throughout the remainder of this year, and the opportunities to make it happen will appear for you out of nowhere this year to make it happen. Not only make it happen, but make it a really solid ground to stand on, something to grow from, something to bring longevity from that we're looking for. This is the first part of it. This is the first part of it right in this new moon, the first new moon of the new year of healing and transformation from the shifts and changes that got brought on us over the past couple of years. Wow, just that alone, right? That just sets the tone. That just sets the tone for this week. And I think it's a great thing for us throughout the course of this week, but probably the best time to do it is tonight under this new moon, or on Monday the 16th, to put, is it the 16th? Yeah, the 16th. Monday the 16th, to really put that energy out there into the new moon. Write down a list of where you want to see the new beginnings. Write down a list of how you want to change the way you assert yourself, whether it's being that I stand up for myself too much and I impulsively say things out of anger and I want to change that, or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe instead of dominating and having a bad personality or an anger that exudes from your energy, instead of that side of Aries, maybe let's look at the other side where it's calling you to stand up for yourself more, to know that it's not mean when you do, right? You're just standing up for what your needs are, and we all have valid needs in this life. And when yours are being stepped on, it's your responsibility to say, hey, this isn't cool, right? The universe isn't going to do it for you. God's not going to do it for you, and the angels aren't either. They're calling within you to find that inner lion and that inner strength to stand up and say, you know what, this isn't right, and I need that to change because that is who I am and that is what I need, right? Write that down. Write it down. I need to stand up for myself more at my job. I need to stand up more for myself in my relationships. I need to hold my tongue more in these situations. Whatever it is, wherever your assertiveness is called into play, wherever your impulsiveness comes into play too. Because think of that. That's also what Mars and Aries, its ruling sign, do. They call that inner warrior out in us. And a warrior, yes, they know the battle plan. They know what it is, but they follow their intuition and their gut more, okay, than what they do, what their mind is telling them. They say that is, I'm going to act when I feel it is best to act, to charge, to lead, right? That's why Aries is a sign of the leader. It is a sign of the warrior because it acts when it needs to, but sometimes it should think a little bit more, right? And that's where Aries is also known for its impulsiveness, because it has that inner fire to jump when its intuition and its gut tells it to. Maybe sometimes that impatience gets the better of you, right? And maybe that's something you want to see change. Impulsiveness. I need this. I want that. And maybe in those cases, it's I want to drink more. I want to eat more. I want to spend more. And maybe those are things you want to rein in this year as well. These are part of that root that's getting exposed too, right? These major new beginnings, these freedoms that we're looking for. They're getting exposed this year and they're ready to be healed. If you want to heal them, this is one of the most powerful years probably in your lifetime, I'm telling you what, to really make these changes, those repeat buttons you want to change. And a lot of it starts with this new moon, right? Pulled into this new moon. But also because we have Chiron. Chiron represents that life's greatest wound. That is the root. And it repeats itself throughout our life. And Chiron, it's not a planet. It's not a comet. It's not a meteor. It's a combination of all of them. They call it a planetoid, actually, is what this puppy is. And it's gigantic. It's actually bigger than Pluto. It's a big, gigantic chunk of rock that floats about in the universe. And in the sign that it goes into, it transits every 10 years. And this week, that life's greatest wound, it shows us, let me tell you, it's moving a sign. Let me finish that part. It's moving out of Pisces, where it's been for a long time. It started there in 2010, and now it's moving into Aries this week. So that's a huge thing. When we have a planet move into a new sign, that's a big thing astrologically. And this year we have so much moving. I'll get into that in a second. I'm getting ahead of myself. But as it does that, as Chiron is that life's greatest wound, right? Wherever it lands in your birth chart indicates where this lifetime you were meant to learn a lot of lessons through a lot of pain, unfortunately. That's what it is. But it's known as the wounded healer, because not only do we master these wounds that reappear every time in our lifetime, over and over again, because of this Chiron, that's what we're here to do. That's what we're here to heal, finally. These wounds, they didn't just start this lifetime. They happened lifetimes ago. And you're coming here this lifetime to finally heal them, to say this is where it changes. And this is a pivotal year for making it happen, right? So as Chiron has been in Pisces since 2010, Pisces is the sign that has to deal with spirituality. It has to deal with a divine connection that we carry with the essence of God and what we believe to be true, and the spiritual network that's around us, and the metaphysical gifts, psychic gifts, intuitive gifts that God has given each one of us. Those types of things have been brought into question over the past several years, really focusing on how do I strengthen my spiritual life? How do I strengthen this soul of mine? But it's also beyond that, right? We've learned lessons through that, and maybe it's been through a hard way for you, right? In terms of spirituality, maybe that network that you were around in church failed you miserably. Maybe you felt incredibly deceived by the religion that you belong to, the church that you belong to, the parishioners that go to that church, right? Those are part of those things as well that Pisces deals with, because it's ruled by Neptune, the planet of dreams on the positive side, and spirituality on the negative side. It's about hiding things. It's about deception, right? And as Chiron has gone through that sign since 2010, have you found that you've had some pretty darn gigantic deceptions in your life, right? That's the universe calling you to focus on maybe that thing wasn't really meant for your soul, right? Maybe those deceptions happened as a matter to get you to go, no, darn it, on this list I've written today, this is what I do need. And this is where I need to stand up for myself more, because this is what I'm deserving of. Okay? One of those things. Here we go, bringing that into it as well. But this is going to be carried on through the next several years as Chiron transits through the sign of Aries. Aries is a sign that's self-focused, it's self-independent, and it says, let's change these things. Let's make these new beginnings happen. All of that stuff I just talked about before, that's what Aries is. And as Chiron transits through that, I think there'll be several times over the course of the next several years that are going to bring us those wounds. It depends on where Chiron is at in your birth chart, where this is telling you to stand up for yourself. In astrology, we've got 12 houses, and they represent all different areas. You've got the self, money, communication, mental process, family, children, work, relationships, all of those things. They all are part of this astrology wheel, and where Chiron lands is going to indicate where these new beginnings, where you're going to have to assert yourself more, where you're going to have to find that inner warrior more, where the wounds showing what your true personality is, because that's what Aries is. It's the confidence to be who you are. It is who you are. It's your identity. It's your ego. And I think as any time in astrology, when we have a planet move into a new sign, it's always strongest at first. So we're feeling those pangs now. We're feeling those things now. And it's been extremely strong over the past week, because here we are going into this Aries new moon, right? This is where that start button is hit. This is where that call to who I am has been hit. But it's been triggered. It's been turning over the past several years as well, because in 2010, not only did we have Chiron and Pisces kind of going through that subconscious mind, stimulating all of it, bringing out those deceptions, bringing out those secrets, bringing out those things that maybe aren't secrets from others, but things that we hide from ourselves. Those types of things were being also triggered because of Uranus out there in the sky. Good old Uranus, the planet that frees us and liberates us from things. It's been going through the sign of Aries, ironically, since 2010 as well, and it's getting ready to transit out and move into Taurus in May. And we're feeling, same thing like Chiron moving into Aries is very strong right now, reminding us of those wounds of where it hurts to be who we are and stand up for what we want and be who we truly are here to be. Not only is that happening, but we've had Uranus the past several years electrocuting us at times, forcing us outside of our comfort zones, forcing outside the box to say, wow, this doesn't fit me anymore. Bringing new people into our life that also helps stimulate that thought process of helping our soul to evolve to where it's meant to be now. That's what Uranus does. It pushes us. And sometimes it knows we get stuck in these comfort zones so much that it throws an unexpected event at us, because it knows we wouldn't jump regardless. So it makes the jump for us, and we have to deal with it at that point then. But goodness gracious, I'm just getting, there's so much happening here. But as Uranus is doing that, okay, Uranus has been pushing us because what it's ultimately trying to do is pull this mask off that we've been hiding and let the real you radiate through. Let the real you shine and let you have the confidence to say, you know what, I am ready to do this. Darn it. I am ready to chase that dream. I am ready to end this relationship. I am ready to begin a new relationship. I am ready to finally stand up to my family or whatever it is. You know what I mean? There's 7 bajillion things that it could be, you know, that it falls into. But as Chiron goes through Aries over the next several years, but especially right now, we're going to feel it the strongest now because of those 2 factors. Because Uranus is going to be finally moving out of Aries and into Taurus, where it hasn't been for 84 years, right? As it does that, it's that last leg of, where do I have these wounds? Where do these hurts happen from not being who I really truly am? And it's interesting because this week is, it's really a beautiful testament to how the universe works. The sun is in Aries now, right? And it's transiting through, illuminating everything I just said, right? Everybody listening right now is like, holy smoke, Ramas, that's exactly what's been happening. And I've been tested a lot. My anger's been coming out a lot. And I'm saying I can't take this anymore and this has to change. That's been happening, right? But as the sun is going through this week, it's going to align with Uranus. And that's the last time it's going to happen while Uranus is in Aries in our lifetime. This won't happen again for 84 years. So you're not going to care in 2097 when this happens again. You know what I mean? Like, who cares then? Right now we care because as it does, it shines a light on everything I just said. What the past several years has brought to your attention, that who am I? You've been asking yourself is really going to come into question. And how do I want to change this? Really gets brought into focus. And how beautiful is it is this happens on Wednesday when the sun and Uranus align for the last time in Aries. It's really going to pack a punch, I think. I really do. And this may be one of those things that if you have been hiding it, right? If you've been doing the Chiron and Pisces thing and hiding, choosing to deceive yourself and hide from these truths and realities that have been replaying themselves since 2010 for you. This is a week, I think, where unexpectedly, maybe it's going to push you out of that comfort zone finally, because no matter what, your soul is meant to evolve. And if you don't do it yourself, the universe is going to give you a nudge, and sometimes it's going to make that decision for you. So pay attention to the signs this week. Pay attention to the signs that were happening last week, especially towards the end of last week. Where is it calling you to find that inner warrior? Because it's going to really come into play over the next several years. And by the time Chiron is done in 2027, moving through Aries, I think we're all going to have such a greater sense of self and understanding in those massive, massive changings that the seeds begin this week, right? They really come to fruition absolutely 110%. And there's a flourishing for us by the time in 2027. You'll look back and go, that's when I planted the seed for all of these trees that have come through. Of course, it's not going to take a bajillion years to get there either, right? We're going to see the fruits sooner than then, but I think the total transformation, when you can look back and say, me standing up for myself and making those changes, I see when I did that in 2018. This is where it all is finally done, you know. But we have a lot going on, right? In that time frame, because this is a big year. This is the year we heal it. This is the year we heal those cycles, right? Because we have such massive planets moving into big signs like Uranus moving into Taurus. When it does, let me tell you, it brings stability. There's a lot about that with stability. Because not only do we have Uranus moving into another sign, we have another slow-moving planet, Saturn, that moved into Capricorn, yet another Earth sign, at the beginning of this calendar year. We had that happen. We also have slow-moving Jupiter that moved into Scorpio also towards the end of last year. It's also moving another sign this year. And then we have Chiron, of course, moving too. So that's 4 pretty major planets that are transiting into new signs this year. And they're moving into these earth signs, right? With the exception of Chiron, which is going to be that fire that we need to be strong in ourselves. But with the exception of the other ones that are moving into earth signs, which means that it's bringing stability to the changes that you are making. big stability, more than you realize. As long as you're following what your true heart is telling you to do, it's going to make sure that you're on solid ground to do it, right? But if you're still not getting it right, the universe is going to keep hitting you with those same problems over and over and over again until you finally go, all right, you beat me into submission. I get it finally, right? Send it out there into the universe this week. I am hearing you. I want these changes. This is what they are. Write it down. And then because we're in this new moon of Aries, it's a fire sign. Like I said, it's that fire that pushes under us to get going. Burn that list of manifesting, okay? In a safe environment, of course. Let's not burn our houses down and start a new beginning that way, right? Let's be careful out there. Maybe do it outside even. You know, I know there's an ice storm going on here in Michigan. I don't know where you're at, but take that list outside, and symbolically you could also burn that as well. But physically you can burn it and release it, and that's a beautiful symbolism right there in itself, isn't it? To burn that and let it go and send it into the universe. Because nothing we manifest in this life is going to happen until we have that faith that it's going to happen. Doesn't matter what you wish for. If you don't think it's going to happen, it ain't going to happen. That's how we manifest things in our lives. And this is the year that manifesting's at its strongest. We're in 11-year numerology-wise. 11 is the master manifester. So when we land into an astrological year that's like that, you know that your manifesting capabilities are at an all-time high. But because we also have all of this energy with Aries, Aries is the sign of manifesting. So put all this together, y'all. You see where I'm going with it. There's so much energy out there this week to make new beginnings, to make changes, and to put the seeds out there to make it happen, right? Absolutely. Let's look what else we got happening this week. Goodness gracious. Holy smokes. I've been talking already forever, and I didn't even do my reading yet. Oh my goodness. Two other things we've got too this week is that we've got some of those slow-moving planets retrograding, helping us to look back to the past. Okay, we've got Saturn retrograding on Tuesday, and then we've got Pluto retrograding on Sunday. Now, when Saturn goes retrograde, Saturn just moved into the sign of Capricorn. Its home sign of Capricorn. Hasn't been there since 1988. Now, think of this here. As Saturn returns home, hasn't been there for 30 years. What it's trying to do is stabilize everything. It sees that the past couple of years have made things chaotic, and what Saturn does is it sets new rules and limits and structures and boundaries around us to make sure that things are going to be on a good solid ground, right? And it does so by tightening up the belt. It makes sure we're working hard to achieve whatever it is we need to bring that stability in. So that's what Saturn is finally happy to do. It says there's been a little bit of chaos since 1988 in terms of all these things on all levels, personal all the way to global. You can see where there's a lot of the universe working behind the scenes to finally say, let's rein it in and strengthen things again. Build from the ground up. It's exactly what Saturn's going to do in its tenor through Capricorn over the next couple of years. But as it retrogrades, it's going to be asking you, where have my foundations been cracked? Where have they been compromised? Where have my boundaries that I set with myself, with others, in all these different layers, at work, with my kids, with my spouse, with myself, where have I let those boundaries become perforated? Okay. And where am I not standing up for myself to let that happen? When you don't, depression sinks in. Stress, anxiety, resentfulness, because you're letting others step on you, right? Doesn't that sound familiar? Like we were talking about this new moon, you want to make new beginnings, right? But Saturn's also making sure that those things get strengthened over the next couple of years. And as it retrogrades, it's going to bring that up to the surface, whether it's mentally, and it's asking for you to replan that out, or if it's something that gets thrown at you in a situation that's asking you really to stand up and make those boundaries. That's what Saturn's going to do over the next 5 months, right? But it starts this week as well. Interesting timing, don't you think? And then the other one is Pluto. Now, Pluto is such a slow mover that we don't really feel its retrograde phases unless you are a Scorpio, because that's your ruling planet. You'll feel its retrograde a little bit more. But what happens when Pluto retrogrades is it opens up a window of time where, remember that root of the deep wound? That's what Pluto is, right? It represents that energy of the endings that need to happen to make the transformations occur in our lives, to make these new beginnings actually tangibly happen. Pluto has to come in like the dump truck that picks up that junk that you're putting out at the curb, and then it carries it out. That's what Pluto does. And this is a year where Scorpio is ruling, okay, because Jupiter is going through Scorpio. That's the dude that's also pulling that root up. It's not the one pulling the root up. That's more Uranus and Aries and all of that I was talking about before. But it's more the Jupiter that's going through Scorpio that's going to heal and transform that root when you let it get exposed. That's where that's going to be happening at. So as Pluto retrogrades this week, you're going to feel it strongest this week, okay? And that's where we're revisiting those old hurts, especially because you got Chiron, the life's greatest wound, going into another sign, so it's like double whammy. Those greatest wounds are getting really, really brought to the surface this week, and I think that's great because we have the ability to heal them this year. Write them down. Write down these things, these thoughts, these situations that are being brought up this week that are really triggering that inner warrior, because that's where the major healing needs to happen to help you not hit those repeat buttons over and over again, right? And help you purge what you don't need. Finally say, not only am I not hitting this repeat button, I'm dumping it and I'm purging it. I'm ready to get rid of it. That's what it is. That's what we're here. That's what we're here to do. Gosh, there's so much more I wanted to talk about, but then I'm going to talk about it for like 7,000 years. Okay, last thing, and then we're going to pull one card, okay, because this is going to be the longest reading I think I've ever done. But that tells you how much energy is out there. Not only do we have the sun aligning with Uranus, right, shining a light on all of these freedoms that we're ready to liberate ourselves from. You fill in the blank. But after it does that, the sun is going to move into Taurus, and I think that's a beautiful thing because that's going to set the ground for where the new foundations are starting to emerge. You're going to see that, right? That solid ground that you can finally feel like it's not an earthquake constantly. This is when it's really going to start as the sun starts moving into Taurus. Okay, that's going to happen on Wednesday the 18th as well. But as it does that, it's going to set the scene for when Uranus moves into Taurus, where it hasn't been for the 84 years, okay, since the Great Depression. You can see what major turmoil was happening then, and look, it's back again. Look at that. Isn't that something? You know what I mean? That it's back again. So here we go. We're in this now, and we're ready for these solid grounds to take place. And I think what's great is the sun moves through Taurus every year, and it shines a light on the tangible things in our lives. Okay, so we're going to be really feeling that as well this week. Where do I want these structures to get the cracks repaired? Where do I need new ones built? But also, where am I in terms of what's happening around me now? How are my finances? That's very Taurus based. How is my work? That's very Taurus based. How is my health? That is very Taurus based. All of those things are physical and tangible. Money, work, and body, that falls under that category. So the sun's going to be shining a light on that as well over the next month for everybody. Holy smokes. I give everybody a gold star that watched this whole video. I tell you what, because there's so much. But I know that we have the power to harness this energy and really start planting the seeds where we need to make this the most transitional and transformative year of our lives. Absolutely. So let's pull a card now. The stone I pulled ahead of time because I knew I was going to be yapping and yapping like crazy is the sodalite. This is the one that helps us look back, right? Just like Mercury's been doing in retrograde the past few weeks, the stone does the same. It opens our third eye so we can see what our intuition and all these signs around us are telling us. But it also opens that throat chakra center of ours as well so that we can express and communicate what we need to. When Mercury is in retrograde, it's notoriously a time for communications to be blocked and not be able to say what you want to say. But now it's not, right? It's moving direct today under the power of this new moon of new beginnings. You want to say something, this is the stone that's going to help open it, but also what's going on out there. So I have that with us today, right? The sodalite. The angel that goes with it is Archangel Zadkiel. He is the angel that facilitates communication of all kinds, helps us learn something new, helps us realize what is happening in front of us and not looking back to memories of how things used to be. He's the angel that helps us see reality for what it is. He's around. He's helping us this week. And this is the message he's bringing to us through these cards right now as I shuffle them. And look at the ice coming down. Holy crap. How about that? You know, here it is, mid-April, and we've got this horrific snowstorm. Not snowstorm, but ice storm happening. It's like, isn't that interesting timing too? The atmosphere is responding to this electrocution that's happening in the skies, really pushing us out of our comfort zones. And the sky responds and the earth responds, isn't it? Interesting. Let's see here, Zadkiel, what you got to tell us in this interesting time? One more. Oh, isn't this ironic? The Six of Water is a card that represents looking back to the past too much. It says that you determine your future too much by looking to your past, right? And the problem with that is that when we look back to our past, especially our childhood, we add a layer of rose-colored glasses to it, right? And we see things a lot of times either better or worse than what they truly really were. This is a card that indicates that. It's saying that the memories of the past are interfering too much with you moving forward into these new beginnings that you want. Time to heal it, right? Know that this year is going to give you the opportunities in so many ways as long as you listen to it sharply and stand up where you need to make those changes. How crazy is that? Let me tell you exactly what the words are on this. Memories from your history or childhood, issues regarding children in particular, and romanticizing the past. But it also means moving past that. Let's recognize that. Let's see it for what it really is. We know the Sodalite's going to help us do that. Archangel Zadkiel is going to do that. And this new moon is going to help us to initiate the new beginnings that you want. Okay? So, everybody, thank you so much for watching. And I send you all light and love and positive energy and strength. And I want you to know that you are a beautiful soul. However you are, no matter how sensitive you are, or how gruff you are, or however you are, that the universe loves you, God loves you, and I send love from my heart center as well to you, and hope that you feel the same for yourself as well. And if you don't, this new moon is going to help you change it. So, thanks so much for watching. Bye.